Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Women, Real Purpose talk show, live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community Facebook group. I am Catherine Yarbrough, and I am one of the hosts, one of the two hosts of the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show, a co-leader in the On Purpose Woman Global Community and the creator of the Manifesting Clients Academy. And I'm here today to talk with Bonnie Blask Cashnow. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi,
Hello,
everybody.
hello.
Hello.
And she's going to tell us about what to do if you're worried that your aging parents can't manage their bills or paperwork. Okay, so if you're listening in, you've got older parents or someone in your life who you're concerned about. So I'm glad that you're here. Bonnie, it calls herself the organizer. I've known her for years, and she's always called herself the organizer. And here's why. She has been helping older adults manage their bills, balance their checkbooks, and take care of medical claims and medical bills for over 30 years. Wow. Her clients call her an angel and a miracle worker. That's pretty cool. They tell her they can't live without her. She fights for her clients' rights and seeks out money that they are owed or don't have to pay. So that's really cool. All right. I am so glad that you're here to share your wisdom and knowledge, Bonnie. But before we get into that, will you take a minute or two and tell us what got you into this work? I don't even know that.
Well, I'm not sure either. I always like to do paperwork. And I remember as a kid, I used to undo my night table drawer on the floor and reorganize it. When I was in college, I had a part-time job as a temporary. And when I finally got a job working in the back office, I got a real eye opener and found out that the temporary people don't get much money. It's the agency. So when it was time for personal reasons to get kind of a flex time job after my speech therapy job didn't work in the city after a couple of years, I decided to just start it, I guess. And I've loved it. It's changed over the years a lot. And it's just something I feel so good about when I can help someone.
That is really cool. I love long-term solopreneurs who just really committed to what they were inspired to do, and they kept going. Like, I mean, what a journey you've been on with that. So I would love to hear an example of a client. And I know that if folks are here and who are listening, if they've got parents they're concerned about, do you have an example of a client who was a parent or parents and what you did to help them?
I can tell you about a couple of my seniors.
Okay.
One was a woman in her 90s. Son lived in another state.
Wow.
Thought everything was fine, but asked me to please go in and give a check. And I said, sure, why not? Lovely woman, walked in. The house was really neat. She seemed to be coherent. Everything seemed cool. Didn't see any papers around. And, you don't want to push the first time. So I left, gave him a call. He said, would you please go back? I said, okay. Went back. Everything seemed okay. All right, please go back one more time. I'm like, okay. So on the third, I decided I already had a rapport with her. And I said, may I look around a little bit? She said, sure. So I started opening drawers, and there were tons of papers everywhere. I decided to check and find bills that weren't paid. Later on, I found that she had insurance policies canceled. Something happened to her secondary medical insurance, which is so important. So I had to get that back on. She had never signed up for a prescription drug program. Now, you'd think that the government would be thankful for that, but unfortunately, they penalize you if you don't sign up at the right time. So she had to pay, let's say, $10 more a month for the rest of her life because she never signed up for it. So those were a few things that happened with that one. But if you would walk into her house, you'd never know there was a problem. And there were lots of other things that we got into. Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. I can imagine going into her home and everything looks fine until you actually felt comfortable enough asking if you could look around and look in her drawers and you could find all of those bills that had been ignored or whatever and tossed aside. And then I bet things were just a wreck at the money level
Mm-hmm.
and the insurance and all that stuff. So, wow, what did her son tell you? How did he know, or did he tell you why he thought you should go in there and what he was concerned about?
I don't think so. I think it was just she was getting up there and he wasn't sure. And a lot of times when children are far away, they start to get nervous, knowing that she lived alone. She did have help. Actually, I had issues about the caregiver, but we won't go into that. But I guess to make him feel better also. And then he was just like so glad. And I worked with her for quite a while and kind of was the in-between person between the senior and the children out of state.
I see. So you do live in Baltimore, so a lot of your clients are in Baltimore. Is that correct?
Right.
And I know we've talked before, and you've mentioned that you can work with people who are not in state, but in that situation, it was really important that you were there to be able to go to her home.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, so if someone actually is the child of an adult parent who lives near but doesn't live in Baltimore, and they can go through the parents' drawers and find all the mess, what do they do? How can they help their parent, or should they call you? What do you recommend in that kind of situation?
Well, it can work either way. A lot of times now, the children are so busy that they don't have time to deal with their parents' stuff. There's also emotional issues. There's issues that parents are embarrassed. There are issues where they don't realize even there's a problem. You know, memory issue comes into play. A lot of health issues.
The adult parents don't realize they have a problem, so the adult children may not even know.
Correct. There might be poor relationships. Parent might just say, none of your business. There's a lot of interpersonal stuff. I play social worker so many times in my cases. It's like unbelievable. And even if the child lives around the corner, it just might not work. Sometimes it's better to have someone on the outside. Seniors mostly have a lot of pride. So that comes into play. But you just have to be careful, obviously, what help you get. You can't get some young person off the street. You can't get a neighbor to get into your business. You got to make sure somebody like me who's bonded, insured, and kind of knows what they're doing and has a reputation. So it's better to get help than not do it.
Right. Okay. So I just want to say, just in case anybody else was having this experience, I was hearing Bonnie break up a little bit, but we could pretty much hear everything that you said. Hopefully it was on my side, not yours, but we'll see. So folks, if you're listening, I invite you to type your questions in. We're not going to go answer them now, unless I get divinely inspired to go over there and see, but Bonnie will go back. And if you've got a question, if you've got a situation with one of your parents, you're wondering what to do, you're wondering if you should get her to help with the paperwork, with the bills, with the, goodness sakes, there's just so many things to be concerned about. Like if your parent isn't paying their bills on time, they can get a lot of trouble. Have you ever had somebody who had that situation where they hadn't actually where they've gotten in trouble for not paying their bills?
Well, sure. Sometimes accounts do get cut off. More often than not, there's late charges, or you get stopped from charging on a charge card. You get scammed in fraud. There's so much that goes on. It's so important now to monitor these accounts. Your bank accounts, checking accounts, savings accounts, credit card statements, medical bills are a disaster nowadays with insurance situations. The main thing you need to keep are those explanations of benefits that take up so much room, but they're really your diary of what's supposed to be the right amount of money paid. Phone bills, TV bills, they often have things that you don't even know you're being charged for. BG&E bills. There was a long time where other suppliers were scamming
For people out, I'm sorry, for people outside the Baltimore area, that's the electric bill in the Baltimore area. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I don't know if it was going on other places. I probably assume it does, but other suppliers scam you into changing to them and you don't even know it. And there's a whole story behind that. But you just need to watch over it. Everybody's vulnerable today, but seniors are the most vulnerable for so many reasons. So it's really important not to let it go.
Yeah, yeah. I know my mom, who's in her mid 80s. You know, she tells me she gets all kinds of calls, and I'm always telling her to ignore them, ignore them, ignore them. And she'll be like, well, what about this? What about this? Should I call them back? I'm like, no, ignore them, ignore them. Because I mean, she really is. It's interesting to have parents who are older. For me, I mean, my dad and his wife, that's a whole nother situation. I have a stepsister who does your job in the family, which is really nice to have someone who feels comfortable taking care of that. But you know, with my mom, I'm seeing her just definitely more gullible and not. I mean, her memory isn't what it used to be. She used to never be late for bills, and she'll be late now. And then she had some health stuff, so she's getting all these medical statements. I mean, I know you help people with making sure their bills are paid, doing their, making sure their checkbooks are balanced. I'm always saying to Bonnie, but what about online? What about online? And she's always saying, well, you still have to look at that. You still have to look at that. Right, Bonnie? Don't you always say that to me? And then there's the medical claim. So can you talk about the medical claim? I mean, I'm not a person who does a lot with insurance or health, but my mom had to go to the hospital last year, and holy camole, she keeps getting these statements, and she's like, I don't think this is a bill. And so talk to us about that and what people should be looking for with that.
Well, it's totally overwhelming because there's more bills than ever, because before you might get one bill, let's say for the hospital, that included everything. Now in most places you get a bill from the anesthesiologist, from the doctor, from the place, from the this, from the that. That's why it's important to save all those explanations of benefits from the insurance company and match them with the bills. And a lot of times, all of the doctors that you go to, or sometimes even the hospital, doesn't have your secondary insurance information. So they don't even send it to them. And you get this large bill. And many seniors really want to be on top of their stuff and pay their bills right away. But that could be before everything's done and they end up paying more out of pocket than they need to. So there's all kinds of issues with that. I had one woman who I worked with in Columbia, I still do. I fought for 2 years, believe it or not, trying to get her $150 back. It was the point that it was between the insurance company and the hospital, back and forth, back and forth. And just time goes by, but we did it, we finally got it. And it really felt good because, you know, 150 for her and all these other people, you know, they make tons of money that they don't have to make. And we all pay a lot of money for our insurances.
Well, so Bonnie, I'm hearing you break up a little bit. Again, I hope it's me, not you. But so what I got out of all of that is you fight for your clients. I mean, $150 isn't necessarily a whole lot, but goodness sakes, that's like 12 meals for a senior or more. So it matters. And I really appreciate what I hear in that is that you are a stickler for details. Yes. And that's what this work really needs, is that detail focus. And I bet your clients call you an angel for taking care of all of this stuff. Wow.
My balance and checkbook, it's always to the penny.
And you're proud of that, which I love that about you.
I am.
Oh my goodness. I used to enjoy balancing my checkbook. Now I'm so happy to have an online account and I never worry about it. But anyway, I do check it. Don't you worry, Bonnie. I look at the account all the time. I'm very aware of what's going in and out of it. Okay. So is there anything else that we should be concerned about with our parents and their bills or their medical claims or anything? Anything else we should be looking for or concerned about? How can they
Well,
get
I
rid of
can
trouble?
quickly go through some safety issues that I find. Oftentimes, seniors leave money around or valuables, and they have caregivers coming in. They have delivery people coming to the door, and somebody comes in to give them their medicine, and they invite them in. Maybe not so much now in the corona, and then they walk over to the drawer over there and pull out, an envelope of money. These are not good ideas. So we have to be careful that they should put money aside beforehand. Don't let caregivers or any but friend or neighbor write checks in their checkbook. Happens all the time. They can't do it or whatever. Everybody tries to help. Nobody belongs in your checkbook.
Well, so what do you do with that? I mean, if a senior can't do it and the caregiver's there and needs to be paid, I can easily see how the senior would be like, here, you go ahead and write it. I could see how that could happen. And the gullibility, and my mom is not there yet, but I could see that she could get there.
It's very tempting.
So what do you suggest? Hire somebody like you to make sure those bills are paid regularly so she's not sitting there going, I've got to write a check? Or
to be prepared with the bills, have someone like me on the case. Maybe we could write something ahead, or then you say, I'm sorry, my bookkeeper's coming tomorrow and we'll take care of it. Or at least to educate them on some of these things that they don't really understand or they wouldn't think twice about because they're so trusting. But in today's day and age, it's just really a bad thing to do. Being victim of frauds and scams, some of the seniors are lonely and they answer telephone calls and they order something and they order it online or with their credit card and they don't realize that's going to be a monthly charge. And it just comes out and comes out and comes out. So these are other things that have to be monitored.
Well, so if someone is thinking, oh my goodness, I would love to hire this woman, Bonnie, and have her come in and help me, whether they're in the Baltimore area or someone else. So let's talk about if they are in the Baltimore area, and then let's talk about someone who's not in the Baltimore area, because obviously if they're close by, you can go to the parents' home and help out that way. But these days with coronavirus, are you actually going into people's homes?
I'm selective on who I go to. Sometimes I need to be their hands-on. I have a half a dozen or so people who I have their checkbooks here and I pay their bills here. So that's not so necessary. The hardest part is getting those people to give me their mail and their bills. That's a whole nother page. So I've had people where I have somebody who their mail all comes here. So we don't have to worry about going into their home. If people are long distance and have this issue, we can arrange where the mail comes here and we set something up where I take care of it. So I don't have to worry about that. So yes, it's become harder. And the worst thing also has been the privacy issues. They have changed so much since I started. All the criminals are smarter than me and they know how to get behind in everybody's business. But the validation that has to take place, even for me, to do the right thing, even to pay a bill now. You can't just call up a company, a credit card, and say, I want to pay so-and-so's bill. In my opinion, they should not care who pays them, but they do. So that's really been an issue.
Interesting. Okay, so those are some challenges, some hurdles that you have to overcome when you get hired and that process. So there's a process of building trust with the senior, probably with the adult child, though hopefully if someone's watching this, they're getting that I trust you. And, you've been doing this for 30 years, you're trustworthy. So I'm vouching for you that you're trustworthy. I just can't imagine you ever not being trustworthy, Bonnie. Yeah. So you've got that, but the senior has to trust you, or the senior has to be willing to trust their adult child to let you take care of the bills. Now I can imagine some women who never took care of the bills and their husband died,
Mhm.
being really comfortable with someone coming in and doing all of this, but other people not being as comfortable. But let me just go back to my original question, and we got a little sidetracked. If someone's in the Baltimore area
Mhm.
and you might be helpful for them or their parents, what should they do? And what's the process involved? Should they call you first or email you? Let's start there.
Well, they can certainly get in touch with me. My big thing is trying to get their parent to agree that they have a problem and to have somebody come in. Now, a lot of times, like I said, they don't realize they have a problem, or maybe they do and they're scared to mention it. But usually, once I get in the door and we establish a rapport, and then I start looking at things, and I'm like, I find stuff like all the time. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. Thank you so much. Or I have to get on a phone call and start dealing with issues. And then I can always be in contact with a family member. But usually, once it starts, the family member is so relieved that they don't have to deal with it. Or they were dealing with it for a while and just can't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so if someone wanted to reach out, what's the best way for them to contact you?
They can email me at orgnizr18@cs.com. My phone number is 410-358-9290. My cell is 410-303-0393. And I have a webpage, www.baltimoreorganizer.com.
And at baltimoreorganizer.com is your phone number and your email. Can they contact you?
Right.
Get all that stuff. So is that organizer spelled with the E?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It happened years ago and I never fixed it, but the orgnizr18@cs.com is probably the easiest because that's an email, or text me on my phone, either way. And there's a facebook.com Baltimore Organizer spelled right.
Okay.
So I'm reachable.
Baltimoreorganizer.com.
Right.
You can find Bonnie's contact information and reach out that way. Of course,
Mhm.
on Facebook, you can message Bonnie on Facebook, right?
Mhm.
And just if you're concerned about your parents, should they start with a conversation with you?
Sure. Let me know what they're concerned about. And we can talk about some thoughts and or to do sort of like a well check. A lot of perfect clients are also anybody who you're already using a geriatric care manager or an agency that sends in caregivers. They already need the help. You know they need the help, but they shouldn't be anywhere in the books, in the checkbook, or paying bills, or the personal information.
The caregivers shouldn't be.
Absolutely not. Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So if someone reaches out to you and uh, and I guess it depends on what's going on with their parent. If their parent really is out of it and they have a lot of extra help, then the parent maybe isn't even going to be as aware to
Right.
resist you. But a lot of people that you work with, it sounds like there's a trust building process,
Mm-hmm.
and usually that happens in person. It sounds like. So, how much have you? Are you willing to work with people who are out of state, or do you work with people who are out of state? Do you want to? Because if not, I don't want to suggest that someone who's got parents out of state reach out to you.
No, I'd be happy to work with them. As I said, we can do Zoom kind of meetings and talk about what needs to be done. If they're comfortable getting me all of the information that's needed, I'd be happy to do it here. So
So they'd have to just mail you stuff or get you
or have it
stuff through
sent. You
email.
change the addresses. We have to get authorizations. So it can be done either way, or I can be on call to and guide them if they're going to do it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. Now that's an interesting option too for people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, wow, this is a lot to take in. And I just want to also say about all of this, as an adult child with older parents, I had my first experience right before coronavirus hit. I was visiting my dad and his wife, and he didn't know who I was. And that was a really interesting experience. I kind of laugh about it. I mean, when it happened, I broke into tears because I'm a sensitive person and it was such a shock. And I told my step siblings about it, and they're like, "Oh, he didn't try to hurt your feelings." And it wasn't that I didn't feel like my feelings were hurt. Of course, he didn't do it on purpose. I mean, nobody would do that to their child on purpose. It was an interesting experience. So it's challenging. It's a challenging transition, and I've been seeing him as well as my mom in her own way, going through the changes with their cognitive abilities, and there's a lot of feelings there, and then there's the whole thing of they can't do it, and as an adult child, how much do I step in, how much do I stay out of it, how do I respect them as people so they're still thriving but they really need the help. I mean, there's a lot with this. So as you said in the beginning, sometimes it feels like you're a counselor. Is that
Often.
often?
Even between husband and wives, when I deal with them, it could be very interesting.
I can imagine. So I know that I just have a couple more questions. I know that you said that one of the things you love is getting into the details, but tell us something else about why you love what you do, and because I think there's something about the people thing that you really love. Is that true?
Yeah. I do like seniors. I mean, I do help other people too, not just seniors, but I do have a special place in my heart. And for the vulnerable, we've all been into bad situations, and I love helping people. I love solving the problems. And when you can get a checkbook to balance 100%, it's just like the best feeling you could give me. And the people look at you, the clients look at you and all like, okay, it's a couple of cents. But if you don't do a couple of cents this month, it becomes worse next month, and it's really hard. And people also, a lot of people I work with are widows or widowers, and they have so much emotion that they're dealing with. And again, a lot of times their other half used to take care of this. So trying to deal with the grief, and then having memory issues and health issues, spouse always did it. It's like so much to deal with. So I love being that extra person who they look forward to having come in and help them, and they know they're not alone.
I bet your people really love you. That's wonderful, Bonnie. Oh my goodness. Okay, friends. So if you're thinking your parents might need Bonnie, if you think you might need Bonnie, because I'm sure she's more than willing to help people who have all their mental facilities with your organizing and your paying of your bills so you can go off and enjoy life, reach out to Bonnie and baltimoreorganizer.com, or reach out on Facebook. So before I wrap everything up here and share my closing remarks, is there anything else you want to say or remind people of? One last thing, Bonnie.
I can quickly go through some signs of concern. If you see, obviously, that there's papers everywhere in mom or dad's house, or if you see the opposite, there's no papers anywhere, it could be a sign of concern. Obviously, if there's phone or TV cut off, if they already have memory issues or health issues, or saying anxious or confused. If you ask them a question and they say, I don't know, or I guess, or I don't remember. If you are monitoring their accounts and you see late charges or accounts that are overdrawn, those are things also that are kind of key things to look at.
Okay, those are great. Did you complete that list?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions, they can just send them to me. That's fine.
Okay, excellent, Bonnie. Thank you. Good stuff for those of us with aging parents. It's quite an interesting experience. I didn't understand it until the last few years. So I get it now. So thank you everyone for joining us for this Real Women, Real Purpose talk show. As you can tell, Bonnie and I are real women and we have a real purpose here. We are live in the On Purpose Women Global Community Facebook group. And tomorrow, Jenny Robertson is interviewing Marcy Yankeloff about how to use your business to connect people and build community. I'll be back next Wednesday at noon to interview Karen Yearwood about unveiling your soul's purpose with Life Path astrology. So I'm looking forward to that, to talking with Karen and finding out more about how to unveil your soul's purpose with life path astrology. Cool. And my friends, we now have a YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com and type in On Purpose Woman Global Community, you will find our channel. The replay of this interview will be up within 24 to 48 hours. And if you go to the community, to the YouTube channel now, you can subscribe and you'll be notified about this replay. And then you can share it with your friends, because if you're listening, you may also have friends who have adult or older adult parents who are concerned. And I would really recommend that you share this interview with them. Bonnie's got so much wisdom. But in addition to that, if you go to the July and August On Purpose Woman magazine, go to onpurposewomanmagazine.com and you look at the current issue, you will see a list of all of the July and August Real Women, Real Purpose talk show topics. And you'll be able to go to YouTube and watch the replays of all of them. So please check them out. We've got some wise women in the On Purpose Woman community. So go to On Purpose Woman Global Community on YouTube, subscribe, and get the notifications. I will see you next time. Bye,
Bye.
Bonnie. Bye, Bonnie.
Bye.